The persuader pattern. Now, before we dig into how to best manage the persuader pattern, let's have a look at their key drivers and the needs that come off that, because those needs give us an indication of how to best manage them. So when we have a look at our persuader pattern, their highest drive will always be their social drive. So for them, that's really pulling their profile along. They need social interaction. They need to connect with others. They're very relationship focused. So for them, it is about the opportunity to talk out their ideas, to build relationships, and to connect. That is really important. They will always have a higher dominance drive. So it's not typically as high as their extroversion, but it's definitely on the higher side. So they're naturally really independent, self-driven, quite self-motivated, thinking about where they're heading. So when you're thinking about the persuader pattern, you've got to realize those two things are pulling their profile, that drive to achieve their goals and to build relationships. Then their lowest drive will be their drive for patience. So we'll see that they actually don't need too much routine and consistency. They actually love variety. They love change. They love to initiate those things. And lastly, they'll typically have what we call the corporate hook. So they'll be into details, rules, and structure, but only on things they like, they're interested, or know they have to do. But we see that being a real superpower for them because they can get into the details on particular things when they need to. Now, if we think about all of that in context, well, how do I manage? How do I motivate? And how do I recognize? Well, if you were going to motivate for them, they do want to advance. Typically, we see them wanting to grow and develop. They do love roles where they can be influencing people and events. We want to be able to show their ability to lead and motivate others. They love building teams around them, and they enjoy roles where they can influence teams around them as well. They love that social and status in terms of their recognition. So definitely a little bit more public recognition for them. And it is about achieving their goals, typically with and through people. Now, if you've got to provide them with direction, make sure that you can really support them with their relationships. They will be a little bit sensitive to criticism around their relationships. So if you've got to give them feedback, be cautious around things where they perceive they're not liked or they're not perceived a particular way by people. They'll be more sensitive around that. You could go in pretty firm on things around not having enough attention to detail. That's not their highest drive. So they'll be a little bit more relaxed about that. But if you said, oh, you haven't achieved your goals and the customer doesn't like you, you're going to deeply upset them. Give them direction at a high level. So here are the goals, here are the key stakeholders, and just let them go. They will love to then go and build their own plan, proactively put it into action and drive it forward. Typically, you can do it at that bigger picture level and make sure they know who's who, and they will go and execute. They're naturally very proactive. Make your feedback more about the work itself. And again, like I suggested, not too much about relationships because they're a little bit more sensitive around that area. So just tread carefully. Now, I wouldn't delegate work that is too detailed and repetitive. Those two things combined will absolutely disengage a persuader pattern. They are best out at the front, building relationships, connecting with other people versus sitting behind a desk, processing repetitive work. That is not how you take advantage or leverage a persuader pattern. But do delegate them work where they can lead, they can influence, they can have an impact and take people on the journey. Now, if I was to coach a persuader, help them use their interpersonal skills to build up the team members around them. They actually really enjoy supporting and coaching others. So if you were to coach them, it's probably around how they can even better coach people around them. Help them learn that they at times will need to do more listening than speaking. They definitely love to talk out their ideas, but how can they put the brake on that at times and really listen? They naturally are consensus builders anyway. But we see this thing in their profile, which is more listen to preserve the relationship, but really getting them to deeply listen and be present. And give them examples of situations where they may have come across too informal or too casual if there's situations that do require them to be a bit more structured. So they may need your support there as well. So hopefully this has been really helpful on how you can best manage a persuader profile.